Hey, welcome back to Bullpen Sessions. My name is Andy Neary. Each week, I sit down with abundant thinkers who are kicking ass in life. And we deconstruct the formulas they have used to have success in business and in life to help you unpack your life, your business, so you can do the same. So put a smile on, grab a pen and a paper, get ready to take a ton of notes because you, my friend, are about to go on a wild ride. Here we go. Hey, welcome back to Bullpen Sessions. I am super excited this week to sit down with Paige Lawrence. Paige is the founder of Paige Lawrence Coaching. She's an executive coach helping entrepreneurs grow their business to scale, grow their business confidently, grow their business with one hell of a plan of action. And I love Paige's approach to her executive coaching business because she is not your typical executive coach. She comes with a different background, different experiences, different perspectives compared to what other coaches you might see out there who come at it from solely from a business perspective and from the business field. You see, Paige takes it from the mindset of an athlete, which is near and dear to my heart. So not only do we talk about Paige's coaching business, but we talk about her past, her Olympic moment, her time in the spotlight of Olympic glory as a Canadian figure skater. You see, Paige Lawrence earned the opportunity along with her skating partner, Rudy Swiegers, back in 2014 to represent Canada as figure skating pairs in the Sochi Winter Olympics. And so throughout this episode, we talk about what that was like, to have those, let's call it those 15 minutes of fame where you have the attention of the world. All eyes of the globe are sitting and staring at you. What does that feel like for an Olympic athlete? But we also go deeper than that. You see, Paige learned how to figure skate by the age of 4. So we talk about that journey of what was it like, those years of putting that hard work, that practice in, those failures, until having that realization that you have the ability to skate at the Olympic level. But maybe even more important than that, we talk about what life was like after the Olympic glory is over. So many Olympic athletes fall into depression, right? You have all this attention for a few weeks. You spent 4 years training for one moment, and then it's over. And so we talk about the struggles Paige had, but how she is now thriving long after the Olympic glory is over, and how she is using the same mindset, the same perspective to help entrepreneurs do the same. I love this. Paige absolutely believes that we are all capable and deserving of achieving our own Olympic moment. And so I'm excited to bring Paige to you. I'm excited to share her Olympic journey with you, the struggles she had after Olympic glory was over, and what she's doing about it now to help entrepreneurs take their game to an Olympic level so they can scale their business and live their dreams. So I'm excited to bring Paige. Grab a piece of paper, grab your pen. You know what you're going to do next. You're going to take a lot of notes because you're going to fall in love with Paige, and you're going to have a lot of new perspectives from this episode. So let's dive in. Here we go.
Shift your mindset.
All right, Paige Lawrence, welcome to Bullpen Sessions.
Thanks for having me.
I'm excited. Folks, if you're listening in, I love interviewing athletes. In fact, that's the goal of this Bullpen Sessions podcast moving forward. Most, when you think of athletics, though, you think I'm going to interview some baseball players, some football players. Today, I get to interview a figure skater. This is going to be fun. and I love, and also Paige is a neighbor to our north, right? You're from the great country of Canada. So let's start there, Paige. We're going to talk about your Olympic fame, the rise to becoming an Olympic figure skater and all that great stuff that goes with it. But for the folks listening in who are like, okay, Paige Lawrence, who the heck is that? Let's start there. Who are you? Tell us your story. Where are you from? And we'll roll from there.
Yeah. Tell us your story. I can take up your whole podcast.
Maybe we'll try to make this the first one question podcast ever.
I'll just take it and roll with it. So yeah, I'm from a super small town called Kennedy. It's in Saskatchewan. I mean, Saskatchewan's made up of small towns. I grew up on a ranch. My parents run a rodeo production company. My mom's a nurse. So grew up from a young age working. And my parents put me in figure skating really just because that's all there was to do in the dead of winter in Saskatchewan. little did they know that it would lead me to the Olympics, So yeah, no, I really started skating because I loved it. And my parents continued to find opportunities to help push that along. As much as I loved it, they wanted to give me great opportunities. And I started working with the coach that took me to the Olympics when I was 9. Started skating pairs with the boy that I ended up going to the Olympics with when I was 15. We really just created this awesome career out of seemingly nothing, So from that point on, when I started skating pairs, it was just one thing after the next. So what started out as what I'm trying to say is it was just kind of like one choice led to the next choice, led to the next choice. And all of a sudden we were faced with the choice of, wow, we could actually probably go to the Olympics. Should we make that a thing?
That's where I want to go with that too, because being the athletic nerd that I am, there's so many questions I could ask right now. So you said you started getting coached at age 9?
I started getting coached probably younger than that, but I started working with the coach that ended up going to the Olympics with when I was 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so a couple of things I'm just curious, again, being the athletic nerd, when it comes to pairs, do you get to choose who you're a pair with, or is it just kind of, hey, we're both getting coached by the same coach, let's just start working together to become a pair?
Yeah. So typically it's like a big process. There's pair tryouts, coaches talk with coaches to strategize best partnerships, etc. People have found partners in different countries, overseas. But for Rudy, that was my partner's name. For Rudy and myself, it was really just, we were the only two in our rink that wanted to skate pairs, that we were both lefties, which is important when finding a partner. And our coach was like, yeah, you two are going to do it. I actually didn't want to do pairs at first. My coach made me. So I'm thankful for her pushing me into it. But yeah, for us, it was just a matter of circumstances.
Oh, okay. So I've got to ask, you just said something that I'm like, wait a second, wait. I got to ask this. So when I think of sports like football, basketball, baseball, lefty, righty, I totally get, where's the importance of being a lefty and righty in figure skating? I got to know this. Yeah.
Most people don't really even think about it, but all skaters rotate one direction. So I rotated clockwise. My partner and I rotated clockwise. We jumped clockwise, we spun clockwise. I mean, it sets up how you go into and out of elements. We're one directional. I mean, we skate both ways, but we do our tricks one way. And so majority of figure skaters, for whatever reason, are righties. They rotate counterclockwise. And so Rudy and myself, being kind of the minority, pushed us together.
So for most people listening in, and I'm going to call them us ignorant fans of figure skating, when you hear the word figure skating, you think of Blades of Glory.
Oh, yeah.
And you think of the movie Cutting Edge, which I love. Toe pick, right? But when it comes to pairs figure skating, like I don't know how I want to ask this, but the teamwork you have to be such a well-oiled machine, right? From the time you and Rudy started working together, when did you realize, like, okay, we are that well-oiled machine? How long was that process? So
we started skating together, like I said, in 2006, I think, in the summer. So like June, and we competed at our first nationals in January. So like we jumped right into it. I mean, we both were strong single skaters. So it's like we came into the pairs event like with experience and qualifications, So we gelled together pretty quickly at the base level. Like we could do the technical things, if that makes sense. Yeah. That's actually like the easiest part of starting a new partnerships, is doing the things that you're supposed to do. The tricky part that comes with really time and effort is the nuances of a pair team. So when you watch a pair team that's really great, it's like the girl puts out a hand and the boy's right there. It's those like subtleties that really define attention to detail, trust, commitment, longevity of a career. It's when you know the person, how the person moves before they move. Like that is something that just takes time, really.
It's actually really good. The reason I wanted to ask you that is I think it's such a good lesson, right? Of teams in general. You think about the business world, for a team to operate like a well-oiled machine. I just shared a post today about this. I had the chance to have the experience of pitting a NASCAR race, a NASCAR race car with a team.
Yeah.
And in order to do that well, you literally have to be in sync. You have to know, every teammate has to know his or her role. You have to know exactly where your team is going to be, when they're going to be there. It just has to be like second nature, right?
Totally.
But I think what people don't understand is they see you on TV doing the pairs thing, right? And you're like, oh, that's great. Look at them. But the number of hours every single day, I'm sure, that went in for you and Rudy to finally hit that point where you're like, yeah, we're a well-oiled machine, had to be immense.
Absolutely. I mean, I can remember initially when we started working together, something as simple as like leaving the boards to go skate away. We'd be like, left foot. Yeah. Let's like leave on left. And, which sounds ridiculous, but you had to speak these things into existence. And then at the end of the career, you know what I mean? It's like I felt Rudy and like initiate movement, and I just like would know where he was going, type of thing.
Yes.
So
yeah. No, that's so true, because again, Olympics, I think, are such a good analogy for this, because I tell people this all the time, especially the advisors I coach. Everybody wants to throw the touchdown pass in the Super Bowl. Everybody wants to hit the game-winning 3-point shot. In your case, everybody wants to be in the Olympics doing all the magical flips and turns and twists on the ice rink. But very few people are willing to go through the monotonous boredom to actually get there. And so in your case, literally there was a time when you and Rudy started out pushing off the board together. You ready? Here we go. And that ended in the 2014 Sochi Olympics.
Yeah. What you said just makes me think of, it's something I was journaling on the other day. And it's almost like there's aspects of what we do as coaches, what this world has kind of glamorized, that makes failure, like takes away from the suck and how hard failure is and how difficult it is to create results that really matter to you. It's like, and I do it myself too, right? Like I talk about my failures or my mistakes, and then like, the big win. So you don't actually have to sit in the suck, but getting from that point of like telling each other which foot to leave the boards with to compete on the Olympic ice was really freaking hard, And I think that's so important for us to talk about amongst ourselves more, is it's okay for the hard to be really freaking hard. Like when you're in
Absolutely.
it sucks. And that you have to push through that. And I think that's what you said reminded me of that. Like, yeah, it's not just a smooth sailing journey. And when I say it sucked, it sucked.
Well, and I heard this quote today from a colleague of mine that I thought was so true. Be okay at sucking at something at first.
Yes, totally.
So there came a point where you guys realized, okay, there's a chance here. Like we could actually make the Olympics, whether that's 2014, 2018, whatever that is. You had that point where you're like, okay, this is serious. Because I think a lot of people look at certain countries when it comes to Olympic sports, and they see these kids that are put in these schools when they're 5 years old, and their whole life is Olympic training, until they finally hit that point. Was there or burnout? Yeah. Was there a point where you and Rudy and your coach realized, like, holy crap, you two have the talent to do this?
Yeah. I think we always believed right off the bat that we had this really cool potential, like right from day one, which gave us the confidence to push through the first 2 years of suckiness. We kind of had our breakthrough moment on our third year in the junior ranks, which is like second from the top. And that was really awesome, just to be like, okay, validation, we can do this. But then just the way Olympic sports work, we work on the 4-year system, right? So 2 years out from 2010, which is where we were at this time, is really fine-tuning your approach to make the 2010 Olympics, right? And so suddenly we were on the radar. Oh, I'm sorry. Suddenly we were
this is raw podcasting here. We're not editing anything out. So keep it going. Let's go.
I'm so sorry. But essentially we found ourselves unexpectedly on the radar, like not as a shoo-in, but we're like, oh my gosh, we're competing against the people that will be going to the Olympics, right? So that's like our next move. And so we sat down, had a really good conversation about our goals. And we knew that 2010 was unrealistic, but we wanted to put our name in the hat in 2010, essentially to solidify our spot for 2014, right? Or solidify our attempts. So yeah, it was in 2008 that we sat down and we're like, yeah, 2014 is the one. Like, that's what we're going for here. And so 6 years out, we kind of made that decision.
Wow. And so think about that. Again, it's translating the athletic mindset into the business applications, what this podcast is all about. You set a 6-year plan. Sochi was in 14. So in 2008, you were already creating this plan.
Yeah.
So many people want the result tomorrow, right? Mm-hmm. And they're not willing to put that work in. So, wow. So when was that? What was that moment like? Because I'm guessing to qualify was probably some national competition.
Yeah.
What was that feeling like when you guys realized, holy shit, we're going to the Olympics?
Yeah. That's a loaded question. I mean, I had just had probably my hardest year. That 6-year plan, it was awesome. And like, plans often don't work out the way we intend. And 2013 was really just this scramble to recreate and to get myself into the best position. I was going through a lot of injuries. And so I was injured going into the qualifying event. Our entire year wasn't what we'd intended. And so the moment that the marks came up and we realized, my coach was like sitting beside me and she knew exactly, like down to the decimal points of what our score needed to be, right? I'm living in oblivion land. I didn't want to be thinking about what other people were doing. And she's sitting beside me and she's like whispering, like, we just need to be whatever the score was, like over and over. And they announced it and we had enough. And I started crying, like ugly crying on national television, which is so embarrassing. But to me, I'm not a crier. I never cry. I don't cry from pain. I don't cry from happiness. I don't cry. I'm not a crier. And so it was so, that hit me that was a physical reaction to what this meant to me. I still get goosebumps talking about it. Like if I kept talking about it, maybe I'd cry now. I don't know. Not going to. But it was just such a relief and a moment of pride and just like an immense, overwhelming, happy feeling.
Wow. Yeah. Accomplishment, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So Sochi is in 2014, right? And I think number one, I talk about this a lot with athletics. You think about a lot of the sports in the States here, the people who are lauded for their competitiveness, a Nick Saban, who I admire more than anything, Michael Jordan. These guys didn't take a day off. They win championships, and the next day Saban's out recruiting and Jordan's in the weight room. That's great, but I think we as business professionals, those that are cranking away in the business world have to also celebrate victories, those small successes. Now, qualifying for the Olympics is no small success, but that moment of you're giving yourself the space to cry literally on national TV because you're like, holy crap, I started skating when I was 4, 5, 6 years old. And here I am now about to compete at literally the highest level that you can in figure skating in the world. So let's go there. Now you're in Sochi. Couple questions. This is again more athlete nerd because, by the way, we are going to start applying this to your business career because there's going to be some great lessons in here. When you did the opening ceremonies, what was that like? Because that's a time to actually relax, right? Like that is your moment of relaxation. And I could be wrong, but when you're walking around that stadium, what was that feeling like?
Yeah. So opening ceremonies, I talked to a lot of different Olympians before going, and they were like, if you can, go in the opening ceremonies, because some people choose not to because they compete the next day. Like we all have a plan. Sometimes it doesn't fit. Luckily for us, it fit. So everyone had told me, it's amazing. And I was kind of just like, okay, it's going to be cool. I get it. Like I'll go. But I'm here to compete. Right. So that was my mentality. And I remember the day this, like the Olympic Village was close enough to the venue that all of the countries lined up in our village. And we started this huge train of walking because we walked into the arena. So we had to start walking from our village. So there was this long, probably 2-hour procession. And I'm just surrounded by Team Canada. I'm talking, it's excited. It's like energetic. And I was bouncing around like a ping pong ball, for crying out loud, just like super pumped. And then the next thing I know, I'm walking, somehow we'd gone below and we were walking up out of the middle of the arena. And it's the biggest arena I've ever been in. It was the loudest arena I've ever been in, with colors everywhere and lights. And I don't even know how long I walked like this until I realized that my mouth was open, like my jaw. I was actually like, and then, you know, I was like, oh gosh, this is on national television. Paige, close your mouth. So it was surreal. It caught me off guard. It was one of the most amazing experiences of my entire life that I will never be able to recreate again. So
that's awesome. That is so cool. So how is it as an athlete? Because this is, you know, when I think of sports and I think of business, stepping up for the big moment, right? Again, here you are, years in the making for this one moment, this Olympic competition. Did you feel as an athlete in that moment, did you put any additional pressure or felt like you did, or was it just another day at the office for you? Here you are, again, Olympic athletes, right? You are the spotlight of the world for 2 weeks. Did you feel the additional pressure, or for you, was it just another day at the office?
I would be lying to you if I said I didn't feel the additional pressure. You know, I think it would be, it wouldn't be fair to the experience because it's the Olympics, right? Yep. So it's huge. It's the culmination of my lifetime's work and all of that stuff. Yet I had prepared myself both figure skating wise, but mentally as well with my sports psychologist to show up in that moment. I mean, like, that's what we worked for, was to show up in that moment. And I had this beautiful realization right before I took the ice, which is, I'm very thankful for it. I don't know why it popped in my head, but it did. But essentially it was a reminder of that little 4-year-old. I think someone texted it to me before I went to the Olympics, but it was the reminder of the little 4-year-old that started skating because she loved it and how in awe she would be of this opportunity. And it's like, what would that little girl do? I'm like, that little girl would show up, step on this ice stick, go out there and have fun and strut her stuff, like with no extra thoughts. And that thought really put me back in my skates. I turned to my partner and I'm like, we're just figure skating. Like we figure skate every single day. Like, this is the moment to do what we've done every single day. So pause on how big it is and let's just go figure skate. Cause I friggin' love doing what we do, you know? So it was a moment of both. Like, I felt how big it was, but it was also very minuscule and like, this is what I do every day. And I love it.
That's awesome. That is knowing what your purpose is and finding the joy and happiness in what you do, no matter what environment you're in. You just happen to be in that moment in an ice rink in Sochi, Russia, at what's known as the 2014 Winter Olympics, right? Yeah. Okay, so Olympics are over. You read so much about athletes, Olympians, that come off that high of the spotlight. Again, you are literally have the attention of the world for 2 weeks. And most Olympic athletes don't have or weren't able to do what a Michael Phelps did. What did he participate in? 4 Olympics? A lot of them suffer, you know, they go into depression. They suffer from coming off that high. And for too many of them, it actually becomes an extreme low once that attention's gone. Did you go through anything like that when the Olympics were over?
Yeah. So we call it the post-Olympic blues, which is downplays the situation. I think it's, like you said, it's going to be varying degrees or intensity for different people. But 100%, yes. And we were in a very interesting, unique spot to other sports because we actually had world championships like 3 weeks after the Olympics. So we came home from the Olympics. We were going through jet lag, the post-Olympic blues, where you're just, it's like a vacuum suck of energy and excitement and support and purpose. And yet we still had to show up and train because we competed 3 weeks later. So that was both difficult, but it was also helpful, I think, because it allowed us as athletes to prioritize and like put blinders on. But after Worlds was over, it hit a little harder then. And then I retired. Like, my partner and I, for, many reasons, we ended up splitting and I retired. So not only was it the post-Olympic blues, but it's your retirement blues. And I really struggled for a while, to be completely honest. Yeah.
Well, I think for any athlete, when no matter what sport you're playing, it's easy to feel defined by that sport. And I think so many athletes, especially whether they've made it to Olympic glory, they've made it to professional sports, or just college was it, or high school, mainly college was it, right? Mm-hmm. Once that's over, like they spend a long time, a large chunk of their life dedicated to that one thing. And when it's over, I think for many, it's hard to make that bridge to whatever is next, that next chapter, right? And so for you, a couple of things. Looking back on that experience, literally from age 4 to Sochi, I'm going to put you on the spot. If you could break the lessons you learned from that period of your life as the figure skater, professional Olympian, what are the 1 or 2 lessons you take away from that?
Whew, that is putting me on the spot. So I would say like the first thing that jumps into my mind is to take responsibility for your work ethic and your actions. Like, take responsibility for your results. That's something that I learned at a very young age from my parents, 2 hardworking people, from my coach who expected excellence every single day, from my partner who I wanted to show up for every single day. And when things didn't work out, that's a direct reflection of like what I did. That's where I went first, what I did. Now, there's things you can't control, right? That happens. But it still comes back to what do you want to do about the thing that you can't control? So I think that that's one of the biggest lessons that I've taken away from it, is that you control the results you achieve, you know? So I think that would be one of them. Another kind of overarching thing in my career that it taught me, and I made an Instagram post about it the other day too, is that it's not about the resources, it's about the resourcefulness within you that determines your success. And again, this still comes back to like your actions, your effort. But I think that, especially in today's world, it's very easy to get lost in what you don't have around you and how that puts you behind or puts you at a disadvantage. It's very easy to look at what other people have and how that contributes to their success, rather than just looking in yourself and assessing what you have and figuring out what you can do with it. So to tag on to that, the resourcefulness, it's be solution focused.
Absolutely. And that applies to sports and it applies to social media. How many people say, I can't get started. I don't have the same video crew as Gary Vaynerchuk, and I can't be a podcaster. I don't have all the right equipment. Guys, I am freaking doing this podcast right now, sitting on my bed because we're lacking space today for other reasons. And I am literally have my laptop sitting on a box. You can do anything you want and you don't need the resources. Take 100% ownership of every action you take. I love that, Paige. Now you said something where I think a lot of people might've missed, but my brain went, I want to talk about that. You had a sports psychologist.
Yeah.
You and I are both coaches. Why the heck would you have a sports psychologist?
For me, there was what we did as athletes and what business people do, entrepreneurs, small business owners, like executives. It's hard. You're juggling a lot of different balls with high standards, big repercussions for mistakes and failure and all these things. And at the end of the day, like I said, it comes down to what you're doing. And what you're doing comes down to how you think. So for me, I noticed that I was reaching a point in my career that I was peaking at. And the thing that was holding me back was myself.
Yep.
So I reached out to a sports psych, tried a couple of different ones of them, and found someone that I really connected with. And it was a game changer for my career and my life, because suddenly it became someone that helped me access, it sounds so corny, but like helped me access my potential or more of my potential, you know?
That's awesome. Because I preach this, and I think it was an NHL player say this on a podcast. The best athletes will tell you it's 80% mindset, 20% skill. Mm-hmm. And so every day you and Rudy went to practice, that was skill. But what most people don't spend their time on is the mindset piece of athletics. And that's probably, I wish I had a sports psychologist back when I was playing pro ball, because it was that failed, my mind that failed, that I attribute much of my lack of success to in pro baseball. So I wanted to bring that up because I didn't want people to miss that. Mindset is everything in business and in sports. And so I'm so glad that you did say that.
It is. And it's not just in those Olympic moments. 100%. I worked really hard on my own mindset to compete at my best. But the part that I think often gets overlooked is I worked really hard to show up every single day as my best, to train at my best, because how I trained influenced how I performed. And that's what I like to do with my clients, is help them to show up every single day, ready to put the effort in with intention and purpose, so they get the results that they want, you know? So it's
well, and I just had the podcast that went out today. I love what you said. Samson Jagoras is an entrepreneur here in Fort Collins that I had on the podcast, former college football player. And he said, you have to show up every day like it's week one, day one. Mm-hmm. And I love that. So that's kind of what you're saying. You got to show up every day. You got to show up every day to put your best foot forward. So let's finish up here. I know we're running out of time, but I don't want people to forget about the second half of Paige's life, which has been just as exciting. If you look up Paige right now on Instagram and LinkedIn and other platforms, you wouldn't see her figure skating. You're going to see Paige Lawrence coaching. So let's talk about that a little bit, Paige. What are you doing today? How are you helping maybe athletes and other business professionals live up to their potential?
Yeah, thank you for bringing it up. So I work with entrepreneurs and executives to ditch the excuses and take quick and impactful action so they can create the results that they want. So what we just said, I help people break down what they're doing so that they can create change, like positive change in their life. And I say I bring sports into business. So the sports mindset into business, and really take a look at how like performance breaks down into like actionable things. So for me, that's working with people on their preparation, setting people up for success. You got to have a plan. You got to know where you're going, because that gives you the direction. Executing. So walking the talk. How do we get you doing the things that you say you want to do? And that's both doing the stuff, and it's also mindset. And then ownership, like having the confidence in what you're doing to show up at your best, to know that you're a badass, and to have that radiate out in everything that you're doing. So that's the focus. That's where the fun is when I work.
Who's your ideal coaching client?
Yeah, I love entrepreneurs who are like, I would say maybe like second year business or more, because they have already an overarching vision of where they're going. Kind of like, I know I wanted to go to the Olympics, but they need help breaking down their actual day-to-day stuff. I love working with executives on a high performance team, because again, they know what they want, but they're fighting to overcome a few different things, something that's holding them back. So getting in there and breaking those like preparation, execution, ownership down to really fine tune and create that high performance team. I think probably those are the two areas that I'm excited about right now.
Let me ask you this, as a former athlete, now coach, where you're working with people in a field where maybe you don't have a ton of expertise, like, right? You've never run a business, or you've never like started a business. You've never been a business executive. Did you run into any imposter syndrome when you first started coaching business executives?
Totally.
Okay.
Yes. It's been a really interesting experience being an entrepreneur. So starting over again on this like whole journey from beginner to expert. And it's been really interesting to see how I show up with my clients. Both of those things have caused me to kind of relearn some of the things that I learned as an athlete, the things that I coach my coachees on. They're the things that pop up for me, and I've had to relearn again. So it's been so cool to see the parallels that I teach about be things that I'm walking as well.
That's the reason I wanted to ask you that, is I dealt with that too, because I coach insurance advisors, which I've spent most of my career in, but have I sold the most insurance ever? No. So there was a part of me that was like, what right do I have to coach other people? But what I realized is, no, wait a second. When I'm coaching them, my credibility is what I'm coaching them is what helped me become a professional baseball player. Mm-hmm. You're coaching the same skills that allowed you to become an Olympian figure skater. And so that to me is the credibility. I'm going to teach you what I did to become the athlete at the highest level. I'm just going to help you apply it to your life, which happens to be business.
Totally.
So let's finish here. In your coaching, if you were to share one or two lessons that you have applied and taken from your figure skating career and applied it to your coaching career, what would those lessons be?
I mean, it depends, I guess, on the person, but one reoccurring theme I've seen a lot of is taking messy action. So I'll parallel that to my sport was based on me falling with purpose. I fell every single day with purpose of getting better. And that's something that I think a lot of people struggle with in the business world, of making mistakes with purpose because of how they're framing it. So one of the things for me is helping people fail purposefully or purposefully, I should say.
Learn to love failure.
Yeah, exactly. So like it's creating that growth mindset of how can I make this make me better?
Yep.
So that's definitely a lesson that I've seen a lot of people really do well with. What else would be notable? I mean, I think it's creating consistent habits, right? So in sport, we call it deliberate training. It goes into those 10,000 hours. It's not just practice. It's not just being busy in what you're doing. It's have a plan, and how do these actions feed into that plan so that you're feeding into your bigger goal. And I think that that's something that is often overlooked in our busy lives as entrepreneurs and executives, and running your own businesses, is busy work. Oh, there's everything that I have to do. I'm just going to jam pack my day. I worked from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. And then you look at it and you're like, but what did you actually do that feeds directly into your goals? And so for me, that's a big flashlight moment of let's dig in here and see what is deliberate training and what is just busy work. Yeah. I would say those are.
Well, and I think that's the beauty of coaching, coming from an athlete. When you were figure skating, you knew what you were doing. You know what skills you had to work on, but you still needed a coach. Why? For the discipline and the accountability. It's just to hold your ass to the fire that you're going to actually do it. And so let's finish here. If somebody wanted to connect and reach out to you, what are the most efficient, effective ways to get in contact with you?
So right now I'm actually running a little free coaching session. So it's a performance diagnostics. So you take a short little quiz, and then we have a talk about what I've learned from reading that and assessing that. Essentially, it pinpoints areas in your preparation, your execution, and your ownership that you could be doing better in, which essentially helps you develop those areas and be better. So I'll send you a link that maybe you can share with that. And if that's not your thing, then follow me on Instagram, Paige Lawrence Coaching.
She does. She has great content on Instagram. I'll put the link to that assessment in the show notes.
Yes.
So everybody can get a hold of that. So Paige, thank you so much. This was awesome. I wanted to have you on because I think most people can't connect with what it's like to be an Olympic athlete, right? But they definitely can connect with what it's like to be judged. You are literally judged in figure skating with scores. They can definitely resonate with what it's like to fail. To come off the high of whatever it is. In your case, it was the Olympics. It could be just winning a big case in sales, and now you're coming off that. So many things I think athletes struggle with, but the more important thing is how you have shifted that athlete mindset and used it now to become an entrepreneur and grow your coaching business. Now, I haven't even shared this, guys. I'm excited. In a few weeks, I'm actually going to interview Paige's husband, who is a professional bareback rider in the North American rodeo circuit. Right? His name, he's got the best name ever, Richmond Champion.
And he's very cute.
And who would want to go up against an athlete named Richard Champion? His last name is his destination. And so anyways, I'm excited to have him. But Paige, thank you so much. And guys, if you're listening in, remember, this is bringing the athlete mindset to you to show you how you can apply the mindset of an athlete, people who have exceeded at the highest level in sports, so you can apply it to your business and life. Because you know what happens when confidence and clarity collide? Action happens. So go make it happen today. Shift your mindset. Hey, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode. If you're finding bullpen sessions to be valuable to your business and your life, do me a favor. Please go to Apple. Please subscribe. Give it a 5-star rating. And if you have anybody else in your life, whether it's in your personal tribe or in your business, that could also be impacted by listening to these episodes, do me a favor, share the bullpen sessions with them. I'd be extremely grateful. And until next time, go out, make it happen today, put a smile on your face, and have some fun.